In this section, we will be talking about judgmental forecasting, also called qualitative forecasting. The other tools we will look at this year are time series and causal, and they are very different in the way that they think, but they have this in common, that you have data and you are able to come up with a quantitative model, either by extrapolating through time or by looking at another variable or set of variables that explain your data, and your approach is very analytical. Whereas in judgmental forecasting, what happens is you either do not have data or you have reason to suspect that the data is not of very high quality or the future will not be very much like the past. I liked it when a student said, I never get that sense of where that line is going to break and the future is no longer going to be like the past. Well, the more you understand an industry or the world, financial markets, whatever it is that you're looking at, the more you are truly reading from multiple sources and thinking hard about it, and not just buying the hype, not just buying the surface marketing statements of just one or the other party, the more you're going to get a feeling for when, even if you have data, you should switch to judgmental. Of course, there will also be times where data simply is not available to you. So we will learn a number of different kinds of judgmental or qualitative forecasting tools. The first of which is market surveys. Now, this can be one of many, many things. It can be you gather a group of your customers and you talk to them, you ask them questions, you perhaps observe their behavior, maybe you hand them some sample products or have them go through a mock-up of your service, and you observe them, you get feedback from them. That is the high cost option. A lower cost, increasingly lower cost, thanks to our ability to do this online, option would be to write up a questionnaire and ask people to answer that. In either case, this is prone to quite a bit of error if done just randomly by people who have not been trained in research methods. So if you're in a company, at the very least make sure that you have yourself taken a research methods course, such as our business research methods or the people and information course or the psychology research methods course, or be sure that you are farming this out to someone within or without your organization that is an expert. And there are many, many examples of this being used online right now. It's so easy to ask people to answer just one question, and if you're making sure that that question is not skewed in any way, you're not saying who you are, so that people will not be trying to please you, or you've ticked them off in the past and they're not trying to get back at you. Some good data for a starting point at least can be gathered that way. This one, for instance, asked, are you planning to buy a tablet this year? And gave some answers to whether they were, if they said yes, gave some options for finding out what kind of product, what brand they would be interested in. This works so much better, of course, if you're not asking a question and asking people to think, but instead gathering data, observing them. And here is a truly magnificent example where a bank was worried that if they offered more online banking services, people would not be using their branch services as much, so they'd essentially be cannibalizing their own market. So they went into their data and they tracked how much people were using online banking services, and they found that actually the more a person used the call center, the online service, the more that same person was likely to use the branch services. So there was some synergy, either because these are high need customers anyway, or because one kind of usage leads to another, and they were able to forecast that if they would increase their online and call center services, this would not lead to a reduction of the usage of their branch services. Another thing to do if you cannot go directly to your customer is go to the point person who is the closest to your customer. So this would be like us asking faculty to forecast the numbers in their upcoming semester's classes, and they should be able to say, either because they have a sense of the course has been getting more popular, less popular, or because they know about the needs for the majors and they have a sense that more people are going to be needing it. Maybe they've already been talking to some students and have their intentions to enroll. So you are going to that grassroots. For educational institutions, this would be faculty. For typical organizations, this would be the salesperson or the contact person in a service environment. And you ask them about how the customer is likely to behave in the future. This is magnificent because this is done so often, and these people are trained in forecasting so infrequently that they tend to bring their prejudices into their forecasts, bring their hopes into their forecasts, just make up a number because they don't want to seem not knowledgeable instead of taking the time and going through their files. So this is from a book that was recently published, and I found it fascinating that almost 82% of salespeople that were surveyed, and notice that they're using market survey here, said that, yeah, we as salespeople are asked to participate in forecasting, but only 14% said we really know how to do this. And what's also very interesting is about half of them are saying, yeah, they give these forecasts and then they have no idea what is done with them, which is not showing appreciation and therefore not incentivizing them to really put some thought into this forecast. So this is kind of food for thought. If you are going to be using this in your organization, make sure to give your salespeople both some training and some feedback. Now, the next method that we're going to talk about is not the grassroots points of contact, but people who have a bird's eye view because of their expertise of an industry, of a technology, of something that is coming up. So you could go to government people, you could go to think tank people, you could go to college professors in their areas of expertise, you could go to high-level industry experts, and you would be asking either a long-range forecasting question or there's absolutely no data, nothing to go by, and ask them, looking at developments they're aware of that have not yet been quantified, what are they thinking? Here's a beautiful example I came across recently. Evidently, Isaac Asimov, who is one of the last century's best science fiction writers, wrote down a list of predictions back at the time of the 1954 World's Fair, saying this is what 1964, I'm sorry, this is what the world is going to be like in 50 years. And this was very recently revisited, and it's a beautiful, beautiful article from BBC where I'm just pulling one at random. For television, as I was saying, wall screens will have replaced the ordinary fat, bulky cathode ray set, but transparent cubes will be making their appearance. So you're looking at more 3D television. So some of his predictions are absolutely spot on, and here's the BBC commentary saying he's absolutely right in the technologies he's predicting, but he is likely to overestimate how fast customers will be embracing these technologies. And this is very typical of the geeky expert, they themselves will be so enthusiastic that they will think that the public will be more enthusiastic than they turn out to be, or more accepting of change than they actually turn out to be.